Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abam. Actually, we're learning, today we're learning Hilchos Kriya Shema, which is very, very relevant to, it's like in Yana D'Yoma. So you say, what? How is it like in Yana D'Yoma? Because when you say Shema, it heats you up. And it's extremely cold today in New York. It's like one of the coldest days. You say, what? How does saying Shema heat you up? The Gemara says, anyone who's medakdik b'Kriya Shema, mitzanin loy gehenim. Anyone who's medakdik in Kriya Shema, they cool off gehenim. Why? It's midah keneged midah. When you're medakdik to say the words carefully, it heats you up. So Hashem wants us, He knew today was going to be a cold day, so today we're learning about how to be medakdik in Kriya Shema. So they came to the Satmar Rebbe, and they said, Satmar Rebbe, but your Hasidim, they're not saying Milel, Milra, but how are they going to cool off gehenim? So Satmar Rebbe says, I try to make sure my Hasidim don't go there in the first place. But so now we're learning about the Dikdukim in Kriya Shema. We're in Sif Aleph. We learned that every time an Aleph follows a Mem, you have to interrupt between them. Like V'limadatem oisam, ukshartem oisam, v'samtem es, or isem oisai, uzachartem es, v'asisem es, that it should not appear like moisam or mess. Says the Mishna Berura of Kat Lamadal, Kikoyre moisam. El Yarabba hivi b'shem shla duadin b'chol aleph she'achar mem tzarich lahafsik. The El Yarabba brings the name of shla. Every aleph after a mem you have to be mafsik. The truth is, I'm not sure what the Mishna Berura is adding. The Mechaber said that. The Mechaber says after every aleph after a mem, you have to interrupt. And he's giving examples. V'limadatem kegoin. V'limadatem is shartem oisam. So that means there are other examples. Okay, so El Yarabba is just bringing, what are the other examples? Duadin b'cholav shachar mem tzarich lahafsik kegoin va'avadatem Elohim achirim. So it shouldn't sound like va'avadatem. I guess the chiddush of the Mishna Berura is the examples of the Mechaber are where a mem precedes an aleph, and the aleph is followed by a saf. So it sounds like moisam or mace. But maybe you would think, if it's not followed by a saf, and it doesn't sound like moisam or mes, it's not an issue. No, it's always an issue. You don't want it to sound like Elohim achirim, einechem asher, zaynim achareihem, Elohikechem asher, Le'Elohikechem ani, Elohikechem emes. Gam kol tev shetchila sa aleph. Every word that begins with an aleph, efshir shelo yargishen b'mifta, and it's possible that you will not enunciate it clearly. Tzarich hefsek. It needs a hefsek. Kagoin asher anoichi, metar artzachem, v'yatzar es. Asher Hashem Devarai Eila Vayomer Hashem El Daber El Mitzvos Hashem Asher Atem. Actually, Mitzvos Hashem, there's no aleph there, but I guess the yud also could be swallowed. V'chol kahai gavna. Not all of the above mentioned examples does the word start with an aleph. Well, sometimes it starts with a yud. But either way, whenever a word starts seemingly with a vowel, you should be careful to pronounce the vowel. I don't know why he brings in Ashar Hashem, or
the Shem Adnos. He's referring to Adoi.
Adoi, Aleph.
Oh, good point. I mean, we pronounce it as an aleph. Okay, thank you. You're right. V'chol kahai gavna, or any similar situation. Gam kol teva shetchilasa yud tzarich lahadgish b'mifta. Also, any word that begins with a yud, you have to enunciate it clearly. Shelo yeira'ek ilu nimshachas achat teres lefanea. So it doesn't sound like a continuum of the earlier word. Kagoin pen yifteh. Otherwise, that pen yif. It sounds like one long word. Or lo yeira'ek ilu kare pen yifteh. Penny yifteh. Some type of way to put away a penny. So you don't want it to sound like that. Oy pen ifta v'chein b'tevis yirbu. You don't want it to sound like pen yirbu v'chol kahai gavna. So you want to give each letter its appropriate attention. Okay. Says Mechaber, Af b'psuke de zimra u'v'tfila tzarech ladakdik b'kach. This is not specific to Kriya Shema. Even in psuke de zimra, you have to be careful to enunciate every aleph and every yud. And in Shemona Esrei, so you say, if imkain, then my 30-minute shachris is not going to cut it. Well, you live and learn. It's about time you learned that it is impossible to daven properly in that amount of time. Of course it's not. There's not enough time to actually say the words correctly. Now if you're just going to shul to pay homage to the ancient custom of the Hebrews who used to pray, so, you could say, my ancestors used to pray and I'm commemorating their custom. Okay, then you could do it in 30 minutes. Otherwise, not really possible. If you're a Bal Koire or you're learning, you should also be careful to say the words correctly. Says Mishna Berura. So now the Mishna Berura is bothered by a kasha. Why does the Gemara specifically tell us this about Kriya Shema? Why doesn't the Gemara talk about all tefillos? So it seems like everybody says Shema, not everybody says the other tefillos. But this is something that's more universal, and it's more important because it has Yichud Shamayim. So the Gemara speaks about it, but not because you don't have to when it comes to other parts of davening. Okay.
I would have assumed the reason is because it's Daraisa.
Yeah, good point. Rabbi Yeager is saying, well, maybe the reason why the Gemara only tells us about that is because it's the only thing you have to actually say biblically, and everything else, Yutaka don't have to be medakdek. How does the Mishna Berura know that this is the reason? Now, where does Sif Chaf Beis come from? It comes from Sefer Hayira. I think Sefer Hayira is Rabbeinu Yoina. Yeah, Sefer Hayira is Rabbeinu Yoina. Seemingly, Rabbeinu Yoina is telling us that Doin Minei, that the Gemara does not mean only because Kriya Shema is Da'iraisa. Because l'chayra, either you read the words or you don't read the words. Either you got to say.
If it's B'David your Yaitza, so maybe B'Daraisa, you don't have to be with that.
Again, according to the way the Mishna Berura is reading this Mechaber, there is no difference between Kriya Shema and Psukei Zimra. And you have to be just as careful. In other words, Pashtos, I would have said, like Rabbi Yeager, that this is a Zehirus, and this Zehirus is spoken about by Kriya Shema, because since Kriya Shema is Dairaisa, it's more vital to have this Zehirus, and Psukei Zimra is not Dairaisa, so therefore perhaps you don't have to be Zahir. But the Mishna Berura learns not like that. The Mishna Berura says you must be Zahir even in Psukei de Zimra. You have to be careful to pause between mems and aleph. Now, by the way, the Mishna Berura said you don't have to actually pause. There's no stopping. You don't have to say v'limadetem oisam. No, you don't have to be mafsik. Mishna Berura even already said by b'chol levavcha. Oh, actually, I correct myself. By b'chol levavcha al levavchem, you don't have to be mafsik. You just have to read it in a way that you hear clearly two lamids. By mem and aleph, the Mechaber says you do need to be mafsik, so you do pause. And according to this Mechaber, you need to do likewise in Psukei de Zimra. Siv katan chav gimel tzarich ledakdik shelo yirapeh chazav yichazek harafeh. If a letter has a dagesh in it, it has to be enunciated. If it does not, then it should not be pronounced with a dagesh. V'lo yaniach hanad v'lo yanid hanach. You should not make a shva nach when it's a shva na, or you should not make a shva nad when it's a shva nach. So you say, I don't even know what that is. Okay? So, sometimes you'll notice, like the word Yisrael, there's a Sheva under the sin. And it's sort of silent. We don't pronounce it. We don't say Yisrael. We say Yisrael. That's called the Sheva Nach, the Sheva Res. It's not pronounced. But there are other words like Bereshis, where we don't say Bereshis, we say Bereshis, where we pronounce the Sheva. So when do you pronounce it? When do you not? Well, one easy way to do it is you pronounce it when in the Art Scroll Siddur there's a line over the Sheva, then you pronounce it. When there's not a line over the Sheva, then you don't pronounce it. But it's not, there are basically 5 rules of Sheva Na, Sheva Nach. The 5 rules are that if it's the first Sheva of a word, it is enunciated. If it's the second Sheva, that's Aleph. Beis, when you have 2 Shvas back to back, you pronounce it. Gimel, if it is preceded by a tenua gedoila. Gimel, gedoila. It's preceded by a tenua gedoila. Then it's a shvana. A tenua gedoila are pituche chaisam. Now you really have to go back into the deep recesses. Pituche chaisam is a chirik malay, a shuruk, a tsere, a chaylam, and a kamatz gadal. Okay, are all tenuas gedoilas. Daled, if the shva, if there's a dagesh in the letter, there are 6 letters that could have a dagesh. They're called beged kefes, a beis, a gimel, a daled, a kaf, a pei, a taf. These 6 letters could have a dagesh. If they have a dagesh in it, and there's a shva under the word, it's a shva na. And the next one is, if it's preceded by a special kind of hey. I believe a hey hayediyah. That's hey. Those are the 5 rules in general of shva na. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Aleph, first syllable, Beis, 2 in a row. Gimel, that's the only reason you got it for her. Gimel, Tnua Gedoyla, Dalet, with a dagesh, and Hey, a Hey Hayediyah. So you say, that's too hard. No problem. So you'll only be Yotzei B'diavad. But if you want to be Yotzei L'chadchila, then you should learn this. Okay. Says now, by the way, this is not only Shema, this is Psuke de Zimra as well, and this is whenever you learn, you should pronounce the words correctly. Says the Mishna Berura Hanach, Shva hanechtefes nikres Nach. A Shva which is chapt, which is sort of silent, is called Nach. It rests. Kagain besoif teva, or beemtza teva haba achar tnua ketana, or in the middle of a word that comes after tnua ketana. Ushva nad Nikra hamisnai aas. Shvanad is one that travels. Kagain baroish teva, the beginning of the word. Emtza teva, or in the middle of the word. Haba achar tenua gedoyla. V'siman tenua gedoyla pituche chaisam. Rak hachiruk kisheyesh yud etzla nikres tenua gedoyla. Only a chiruk that has a yud in it is called a tenua gedoyla. Uchshe'ein yud etzla nikres tenua ketana. Here's a beautiful example. V'haya lachem letzitzis. Letzitzis. The first chirik is a chirik malay. It's followed by a yud. Therefore you have to say e. I don't know what people have against the e sound. Everybody says Ashira Lashem. Nobody says ki gamal alay. Ki. People don't have a problem with the word ki or mi vami ha'holchem. But when it comes to thanking Hashem, people say moidim. There is no word in the Hebrew language, moidim. The word is moidim. And don't say nobody's makbid. Talmidei Chachamim are makbid. Rav Moshe Feinstein was makbid to say moidim. Al yidei, not chupa. And not kiddushin, kiddushin. It's a chirik malay. So you say, what's the difference? You're right, there's no difference. The only difference is one is right and one is wrong. What difference does it make if, let's say, you want to call me on the phone and you dial 917-56, what's my number, 716, or you dial 927? What's the difference? I'm a good guy, I have a good heart, and I want to do the right thing. That's very nice, pal, but you're not going to get through to me if you don't dial the right number. So when you say the words in Shemona Esrei, if the chirik has a yud, you better make the e sound. Okay, that's all. So you say nobody does it. I can't tell you, I can't speak for anybody. I can just tell you what the right thing is. It's moidiyim anachnila v'lam al shiniyim al tihisikva. Yeah. Alrighty, we're gonna hold it over here. How many bombshells can we drop in one day? And we'll pick it up tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, we had there's a shul across